Look around any busy city or out over the open ocean, and you'll see a planet in constant, predictable motion. Cargo ships navigate global currents, millions of cars travel down highways, and billions go about their day firmly anchored to the ground. We take this stability for granted, often thinking of gravity simply as the reason things are heavy. In reality, it operates as an active, invisible structural glue holding the entire system together. Gravity continuously pulls inward, wrapping billions of tons of ocean tightly against the planet's rocky crust. Zooming out, these same inward arrows compress our atmosphere, creating high-density, breathable air near the surface, while the gases thin out toward space. Gravity is the primary source of our planet's structural integrity. Without it, the very features that make Earth habitable would begin to drift apart. Imagine what would happen if that invisible glue switched off for exactly 5 seconds. Pop culture often frames weightlessness as a bleak, fun novelty. In a planetary context, the physics suggests a much more violent reality. Those 5 seconds would initiate a planetary self-destruct sequence, starting a countdown toward total environmental collapse. At T+1 second, we wouldn't instantly shoot into deep space. Everything on the surface still carries the Earth's rotational momentum, so the initial departure from the ground would be gradual. However, every person, every single animal, and loose object would lose its physical connection to the ground. Without a downward pull to provide an anchor, we would all begin to drift upward. This diagram illustrates the immediate failure of our transportation. Look at the car tire. When the downward force disappears, the vehicle instantly loses its grip, zeroing out the friction required for steering or braking. This loss of traction would paralyze every car and train on the planet. Simultaneously, aircraft and satellites would face major disruptions as the gravitational math that dictates their paths suddenly vanishes. Within 2 seconds, humanity's control over its environment disappears. Every moving machine on the surface loses its physical anchor. By second 3, our physical infrastructure begins to fail. Most buildings and bridges are engineered specifically to use gravity's downward pull to remain stable. Take a look at this wireframe model of a suspension bridge. Removing the downward load causes the tension cables to go slack and the support pillars to destabilize. Structures begin to shift and pull apart as their internal stresses change. The oceans, lakes, and rivers also lose their connection to the Earth. Without gravity to hold them in their basins, massive volumes of water would begin rising into the sky. At the 4-second mark, the physical geography and structural safety of the planet are coming undone as the world's solid and liquid masses continue to drift. At second 5, the atmosphere begins expanding outward into the vacuum of space. This microscopic view shows the air molecules rapidly spreading out. This sudden drop in atmospheric density makes the remaining air far too thin to breathe. As the countdown reaches its end, the thinning air pressure creates a biological crisis, leaving every living thing gasping for oxygen. Then, at second 6, the 5 seconds are up. The fundamental force of gravity violently switches back on. This creates a catastrophic physical snapback. Every person, vehicle, and piece of debris that drifted upward is suddenly yanked back toward the surface at high speeds. The impact would be immense. Displaced ocean water and the remnants of buildings would crash back to Earth, sending high-impact shockwaves across the surface. This sudden return of kinetic energy and weight is the primary cause of the destruction, leveling everything that was unmoored during the period of weightlessness. Even a 5-second interruption of this force would leave the world in a state of irreversible, widespread damage. This thought experiment serves as a lens to see the hidden physics that constantly and silently operate in our everyday lives. Gravity is the absolute baseline requirement for a functioning world, proving just how dependent we are on this invisible force.